Hello, in part 2 we created the input controls for the login dialog. This time around we will get the entered email and password by the user. After we validate them as entered. The code to execute, when the sign in and the sign up buttons are clicked for the login dialog, needs to be written. In our designer, we had already generated the click events for these two. Let's write the code. First, the login dialog content needs to be validated. We added rules for that, but just need to be certain and trap any non-entry that might happen. The login form has lazy validation, which means that content will be validated during entry. We saw this when we did not have anything entered for both email and password. We will create a Boolean variable that will store the result of the validation. This will be true or false, depending on the result. We call the validate method of the form and assign to this Boolean. We want to show a toast message when the validation fails. Let's also add a sweet alert error toast. Before we do that, let's just ensure that we are able to get the form reference. This will help us execute the validate method on it. So when the validation fails, let's show the toast error message. The toasts can be shown in any page as they are universal to the app instance created. Our toast will show a message for a second. Let's also go back to our form and just add indicators for the required information. We will use stars for that. If the form is invalid, the subroutine stops execution. If information is entered, we want to read this information and process it. We get the information entered by reading the v-model content. Remember, for the email and password we used a dot notation for each of the v-models. The parent object for each is user. Let's get the data stored for this parent object. We then display this content on the browser console. When our app runs, let's open the developer console. We will click on the sign in button and see the resulting output. Let's check the validation toast. Let's also test the password toggler. Clicking the sign in button should show us the user object on the console. This has the email address and password entered. We can later process this via a database authentication, etc. We can use the same approach for sign up. We read the entered details and then save them to a database. Let's add a loader to the sign in button to indicate that some process is happening. So when the button is clicked, the validation will happen. When valid, the button will load. We can disable the loader after authentication. Thank you.